Deputy Tadier, following yesterday's scrutiny panel meeting with the Housing Minister, Deputy Pryke, former Health Minister. Your first meeting with her, I think, in scrutiny. What did you make of it?
Well, I thought it was interesting. There were a lot of ground was covered to do with housing, both when it comes to affordable houses to buy, what schemes there are, and also the state of rental accommodation and availability.
She's not exactly a fireball, is she? I mean, she's a minister with two in her department. Really, it's a bit of a joke to my perception, and the more I listened to it, I thought, well, this isn't going anywhere, is it?
I mean, it takes all types of personalities to make a world and to make a state assembly. So what I'm more concerned about is that seeing something come out of the department which is effective, certainly in terms of regulation of social housing and private sector. It's something which is states in the past and various councils and ministers or their predecessors have failed to grab the nettle really when it comes to regulating the private sector. We know that it's a massive industry over here. People need somewhere to live, so it's not just a business thing. It's about human rights and the basics of running a society, and we need urgent attention in those areas.
The trouble is they've offloaded Andium to become a sort of a private sector body. The reluctance traditionally over years to control the private sector, that didn't seem to be going very far yesterday. There were lots of questions about depositor protection schemes. I seem to remember that was Curry Stein raised that about 100 years ago, and it's still rumbling on. There was a health department initiative on minimum standards for properties. All that's running on. A lot of complicated stuff which you were raising many questions about, but did you get the feeling it's really moving, going to actually give something to the public?
What I'm hoping is that my concern was and still remains that they're not going to do it properly. They can introduce minimum standards, but they're not going to regulate it. They're going to make it a reactive system. That's what they were saying yesterday. They favoured a reactive system. They'll wait for a complaint to be made about the state of the property, then they can go in. Frankly, people aren't going to make complaints in Jersey about landlords because they're scared of getting kicked out. There's not much accommodation out there anyway. The demand by far exceeds the supply. So what I'm interested in getting is a simple, workable solution which is good for landlords and it's good for the tenants, and you tie that in with the deposit protection scheme. So we've got that scheme, it's not up and running yet, that's the issue. So you need presumably to have a third party to administer that scheme, say I'll take your deposit, I'll keep it safe, I'll look at the property at the beginning, I'll look at the property at the end, make sure it's all fine, etc. That's good for the landlord, it's good for the tenant. On top of that, we should be introducing the regulation for minimum standards. So we all agree, an apartment, cottage that you're renting has to meet all these basic requirements.
Well, the Population Office already controls lodging houses.
That's right.
But there are some pretty disgusting lodging houses in the island. And so what did the Population Office do? That's directed under the Chief Minister. The actual admin is now operating under the Social Security Department. But we've forever, years after years, we've been hearing complaints about particular lodging houses. But that doesn't seem to improve. And obviously people complain, nothing really happens. The letting agents are never held to account. Who is held to account on all this stuff?
Those are some of the issues that you're quite right to raise. But I mean, this has now come to the fore, so I'm hopeful. We are waiting for the minister to come back to us. I asked her why her and the health minister were actually late. They were supposed to deliver this report in December. It's now March. We still haven't got the report. Hopefully it'll be well done. But that's going to need to be scrutinised. So it's a two-phase thing. You establish what the minimum standards are that you expect in rental accommodation. If nothing else, it's a consumer protection issue, as well as the broader health issues that go with it. And then you say, okay, we're going to make sure that all properties by a certain date will be inspected, and we won't allow them to be rented out until they meet that standard.
I mean, it was interesting, the Andium homes weren't there, and I didn't see any of the other housing trust people there. They may have been there.
There was someone from Andium at the back behind you.
I didn't recognise him, he was in the public.
He was in the public.
Because the other day when Andium were there was nobody from the housing department there, so this sort of learning from what other people are saying, it doesn't seem very keen. I'm gratified to know that Andium were there, but there are the other housing trusts, they presumably weren't there. I mean, there was one constable there, but the other constables who have control of letting property in their parishes, they don't seem to show much interest. So there's this joined up thinking which you used to keep hearing about, that doesn't seem to be taking place on this, because this was diverse between different departments, even now, isn't it?
I think the issue, obviously not everyone's going to attend a scrutiny meeting for whatever reason, so you can't necessarily read too much into that. I think you're right though. At the moment, there seems to be multi-agency. So you've got the health department, you've got the environment department, and you've got the building standards planning, and you've got a housing minister without a department, all trying to work on the same issue. And my preference really would be that there be one overarching housing law which covers all domains and all sectors, whether it's Andium, trust housing.
Significantly yesterday there was Ralph Buchholz, I think it was, who is planning. He's now half and half, planning and housing. But clearly the initiative really rests with the planning department and the island plan, which is sacred green land, build everything in town. It's that philosophy, and this minister, Deputy Prite, was quite supportive of that, wasn't she? She wasn't going to step out of line on that one.
Yeah, that's the party line.